Hi everyone, and welcome to week 4 of Anatomy and Physiology. I am here right now to give you some feedback from weeks 1 to 3 and to give you some tips and hints going forward for your overall success in the course. Week 4 really marks our halfway point. Wednesday we will actually be directly halfway between the course, and so you've done a lot of work so far, which is great, and we still have about half the course to go for you to improve and really work on some things and maximize what you get out of this e-studies course. It has been such a pleasure to teach you so far. I have absolutely loved working with you in the discussions and in the live sessions, and I can't wait to see where your capstones go and how your work progresses over the next 3 weeks. So thank you so much again, and again, this is some feedback going forward. First and foremost, I want you to please check your email in Canvas daily or as often as possible. You will get some individual emails to your tip accounts, and that's going to be from me as well as your peers in your group projects. And if you get an email to your tip online, it doesn't always go right to your inbox on Canvas, so make sure you're checking both. I'm going to show you how to do that today. So if we flip over to tiponline.duke.edu, you should be using that link already to access Canvas in itself. And then you can either access Canvas like you normally do, but to check your email, you go to Tip Online Email. If you're already logged in, as I am, you can see that I have my email account and I have no new mail here. I can compose messages, and I can see who has emailed me and responded. So please utilize your Tip Online account. You can also access Drive by going to your email account by checking on this box and clicking on Drive as well. Okay. So again, please also let me know by email when you'll be absent from Canvas for a week or more. This is just helpful for me as I plan weeks, or if I am wondering, hey, why hasn't this person responded or done something for the last 5, 6, 7 days. Just continue to communicate with me and write me a short email or a short message through Canvas that tells me why, when you expect to get your work in, and whether or not you've communicated with your group members, if applicable, for that week. A lot of you have new plans that weren't initially reported on the scheduling poll on the very first weekend of e-studies. So if you have a change in plans, again, please let me know. It's so helpful. Overall, I've absolutely loved your improvement in your discussion posts. I do want to give some overall class feedback in that. Generally, I think you guys are really good about reading each other's posts, replying in really meaningful ways, and really getting a lot out of the prompts and the course resources. I do want to include a little message about what I am looking for when I read your discussion posts and how I want you to respond to your peers. So when I look for your discussion posts, I look for a couple things. Number one, did they answer the prompt? So read the prompt and answer that question directly. Don't kind of make up a no prompt. Answer that prompt directly and answer it in your own words. That's the second thing I look for. It should be mostly in your own words, considering your own ideas and your personal analysis of the topic. The prompts are super open-ended and aren't meant to test you on your knowledge of something. It is meant to test your understanding of some of the course topics and some of the big debates. But I'm less interested in what the CDC or the NIH or some organization or website has to say about the topic, as I am about what you got from either that outside resource or what you've gotten from the class material on that topic. So the third thing that I'm looking for is a citation or an example that is specific to the course. So I'm going to go back to week 2 to provide some examples for that. So week 2 we talked about, we had the DNA debate where we talked about genetic modification. So if you were to provide a citation, you would have done that from one of 2 course texts, maybe 3 if you talked about the epigenetics. And that would have been either from Jennifer Doudna's talk about CRISPR technology or from Gattaca. So again, I want you to include a very specific example in this, in your discussion. So instead of saying something like, DNA modification could lead to valid or invalid humans and a lot of discrimination as we saw in Gattaca. Instead of saying something like that, provide a specific example about what that discrimination looked like in Gattaca. So say DNA modification could lead to a lot of discrimination like we saw in Gattaca. In Gattaca, we saw that people were confined to jobs or careers based on what their genome said they were capable of. So people who did not have DNA modification were forced to become service workers or custodians, while people who had modified DNA or an exemplary genome were fast-tracked to really academic high-level careers like astronomy or engineering or another high-profile lifestyle. And that, by talking about that specific discrimination in Gattaca, that shows me that you can understand the examples of what you're saying in your text. I want to provide a different example so that you can see where I'd apply it in a couple different settings. So if you're talking about advancements in DNA technology, which some of you did, you could talk about Jennifer Doudna's video. So you could say, Jennifer Doudna showed in her TED Talk how much we have advanced in DNA technology. She showed us how with the CRISPR technology, we can quickly remove parts of the genome and insert new parts of genome using different enzymes. And the rapid pace of this CRISPR technology, or the ease with which we can use that CRISPR technology, prompts Jennifer Doudna to pause and argue for limitations on DNA research. Again, this is a specific example of what Jennifer Doudna said in her video, and it shows me that you really engaged with the resources and understand their meaning for the course. So your discussion post should be mostly in your own words, but in your 5, 6, 7 sentences, include one sentence that gives you a good example. So those are the 3 things I'm looking for: in your own words, referencing the course text, and answering the prompt directly. There's a 4th optional example, and that would be to include outside references. And that's optional, like I said. So you could look at the CDC and say, what do they say about genetic disease? You could look at the NIH. You could look up some new genetics, and that's only if you're interested in it and you want to supplement your stuff in that way, your discussion posts in that way. It's not required, but it is encouraged. And if you do that, I do ask that you submit a link so that me and your peers can see where you got that information. So essentially, anything that you get for your post that is not from the course directly, you need to include a link, a hyperlink, or an informal citation as to where you got that information. The last thing I want to say about your posts is to respond to your peers in a way that facilitates discussion. So make sure that I can tell by looking at your post that you read their post and that you considered their viewpoint, and then you responded very thoughtfully in a way that facilitates discussion. So that might be asking a question. So saying, I like how you said that, but I am confused by how you said this. Do you think ... or I agree with what you're saying. Do you think this still applies in this situation? Or I agree with what you're saying. I think another example that proves this point is this. Or respectfully agreeing, saying, I see what you're saying here, but I think actually that this ... So you can, again, facilitate discussion by asking a question, providing an additional different example, or respectfully disagreeing with their viewpoints. A discussion, is meant to be a back and forth between 2 people, and you want to make sure that, you are listening to what your peers have to say and then responding back to what they say. I do want to warn you against asking your peers about something that they wouldn't have access to in the course. So if you ask about In the CF post, I saw a lot of people say, what do you think is the most effective treatment? Or what do you think, is, one the best advancement we've made so far? Well, if that information isn't readily available in our course content, provide them a link, please, as to where they can learn more information about advancements or about treatment. If their post had nothing to do with treatment, that wouldn't necessarily be an appropriate question to ask. I hope that the lengthy feedback I gave you about the discussion helps you to write a stronger discussion post, understand what I'm looking for, and then, also, write a really meaningful post back. Overall, you guys are doing such a good job, and I've really loved the engagement in the discussion, so keep up the good work. My last piece of feedback, I know this has been a lengthy video, is to please watch the video on how to submit a Google Doc assignment. Part of the reason I'm giving the video feedback right now is because I've had a lot of trouble with people submitting assignments, but me not having access to it. And if I don't have access, I can't give you feedback, and I can't make sure that you have a good outcome. So if you have not gotten grades or not gotten feedback, please watch this video on how to submit an assignment that I can edit or comment or view so that I can, again, give you meaningful feedback and grade you on the work that you've done, because otherwise you will not get credit for the work that you have done. Finally, I want to show you how to access your grades. So I'm going to scooch over to Student View. This is what your screen should look like. You can see all of your assignments on the left. Then you can go to Grades. So normally there's a message box that tells you what your grade was, and a little message box here that would be any comments. It looks like a text message box, especially if you have like an iPhone or something. And if you click on that comment box, it's going to give you my direct feedback about it. Oftentimes, if you click on that, you'll see my video feedback next to the abstract as well, right here. So please, please, please email me for any specific feedback just for you, or some ideas, or please email me if you have any feedback for the course as well. I want to thank you so much for all of your active participation and your communication. Like I said earlier, it's been a pleasure to teach you, and I look forward to the next 4 weeks.